All right, guys. So we are moving away from inequalities specifically and moving into what we call expressions, and specifically equivalent expressions. So I can rewrite subtraction as adding the opposite, which is what we've been talking about with integer rules. So subtracting is the same as adding the opposite, and then rearrange the terms in an expression. So I can organize my work when I use the distributive property. So find the sum or difference mentally. So I have negative 30 plus a negative 10. The signs are the same, so I add and I get negative 40. Okay, negative 10 plus negative 30. I add and I get negative 40. Now this one's a little bit harder. Remember how we talked about adding the opposite. So when I see subtraction, I'm going to add the opposite. So I change to addition, and then the positive 10 becomes a negative 10. So that would be negative 40. Now I'm going to add the opposite. So add, and then the opposite of negative 30 is positive 40. Or the opposite of negative 30 is positive 30. So my answer is actually going to be 40 in this case. Okay, so remember, when you're subtracting, you add the opposite. All right, write an expression for the area of the big rectangle in at least 3 different ways. So I could do 2 times 8. I could do 2 times 5 plus 3. I could do 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3. All of those would work, right? Because I'm trying to find the area of the bigger rectangle. So what is the area of the bigger rectangle? Here are a whole bunch of different examples. So they said 16, 10 plus 6, 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3. That's one I came up with. 2 times 5 plus 3, that's one I came up with. And 2 times 8, that's one I came up with. So there were a lot of different options. When working with negative numbers and thinking about area, it doesn't work well. So if you think about the distributive property, it still holds true when there are negative numbers, and we can organize our work in the same way. So work on the task beginning individually. So we're going to start it on our own. So it says, write 2 expressions for the area of the big rectangle. So 2 expressions. So I could do 1/2 times 8y plus x plus 12. Or I could do 1/2 times 8y plus 1/2 times x plus 1/2 times 12. And all of a sudden, the reason why we don't use an x for the multiplication comes very, very clear. We need to use a dot. So that's 2 different expressions that show the area of this larger rectangle. So write 2 expressions. I just did it right there. That's where I work. The problem was to begin with. So that's the distributive property, and this is where I've distributed it out, and it's in simplest form. So now use the distributive property to write an expression that is equivalent. Use the boxes to help. So 1/2 times 8 is going to give me 4y. 1/2 times a negative is going to give me a negative 1/2 x, and 1/2 times a negative 12 is going to give me a negative 6. So 4y minus 1/2 x minus 6. Okay? Let's try another one. So we put the 9 on the outside, 4x minus 3y minus 2/3. So 9 times 4 is 36x. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27y. And 9 times 2/3, well, 9 times 2 is 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6, so negative 6. So my expression would be 36x minus 27y minus 6. All right, same thing again. Negative 2, so I've got negative 6x, 3y, minus 1. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So I have 12x minus 6y A negative times a negative is going to be a positive. Plus 2, so I have 12x minus 6y plus 2. Remember, if there's no sign in front of it, it has to be a positive. Why are these expressions not equivalent? Okay, you have to look at the sign in the front. So x and x, that's the same. The plus 2, and then that becomes a minus 2. Okay, that's one difference. Minus 3 plus 3, there's a difference there. And then these two are the same. So the sign in front of the 2 and 3x are different. Okay, so subtraction doesn't work with the commutative property. You can't just switch the terms around with a subtraction sign. Since negative 3x is the same as adding a negative 3x, the negative sign needs to stay with the 3x when you rearrange the terms. So this is going to be your cool down. So I want you to select all the expressions that are equivalent to 4 minus x. If you get stuck, use the distributive property to work out 5 times negative 2x minus 3. You can use the boxes to help you. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later.